I mentioned earlier, the AREIT right now has no debt at all. So when we plan to acquire 30th using debt, so if the 30th, for instance, that property will be yielding us, for example, 6% on the acquisition price, but debt levels borrowing is 4% or probably less, then that difference of 6% versus the 4% will now accrue as dividends to our shareholders. As the first Philippine REIT, we want quality assets in good locations that are familiar to our investors. And Ayala Land as a company still owns majority of AREIT. And so what's best for AREIT is also what's good for Ayala Land. We can acquire from our sponsor, which is Ayala Land, or we can also acquire from third parties if there are good opportunities out there. But we will always choose prime locations, stable income and occupancy, and assets that will really add incrementally to the dividends of AREIT.
Totally agree. And I just like to zero in on what you said now. I hope people get how interesting this is, because in the midst of this pandemic, I had so many friends having a hard time sell their properties right now, that either they're waiting up until now because they need the money, they cannot sell, or they had to sell it at a lower price. The advantage of REITs, it's so liquid. You need the money on Monday.
Yes.
AM, you can sell it and then you can get the cash already. And I just want to share this also on how interesting this is. Imagine this. In Makati, it will be very, very challenging to find a 5 million peso condo. But if you look at it from that perspective, 20%, get a 5 million peso condo, 20% down, you need to put 1 million pesos, and then you loan out the rest. Whereas sa REIT, if you only have 1 million, your 1 million can start earning already, and then you're not borrowing and incurring interest from the bank. Whatever dividends you get, that's all yours already. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages that people need to see. It's just that feeling of condos, parang nahawakan, tangible, pwede kong makita. But if it's a yearly basis, I really like this because it democratizes it, that people who have 20,000 pesos, 30,000 pesos na they can't still buy their own condo now have a chance to have exposure to it.
Yes. You're absolutely right, Marvin. The REIT is a new product here in the Philippines, and it's good we finally have it here. It's been around in many other countries for so long. The REIT actually, historically in other countries, have withstood many economic crises. It's a good defensive stock because it gives regular dividend income. At the same time, it has potential for price appreciation. So you can sort of have the best of both worlds.
Yep. I'm curious about this, and I just want to be balanced also, no? Given that we've just undergone strict lockdowns in the middle of the year, and then right now things are getting lighter already. How do you see the property market moving forward? And siguro I want to zero in on to office spaces.
Well, the property market first, overall, I think Philippine real estate will stabilize and continue to grow. Why do I say this? We have the most important fundamentals as a country that drive the economy and the real estate market. First and foremost, we have a very young, active, productive demographic profile. And our population itself is so large, and in itself, it's a driver for consumer spending. Many of us did not stop spending, even throughout this lockdown. Secondly, we still have a strong inflows coming from OFWs who are still investing here in the country. And third, I'll talk about it a bit more, the BPOs. There's still that continued strength. Business functions globally are done actually here. It's amazing when I meet our tenants. I get amazed what types of work they do for companies all over the world. And they're done here, technology, IT, accounting, finance, HR, payroll services, customer service, logistics, e-commerce, there will always be a need for a place of work or an office that will not necessarily disappear, especially if you're in a good location. Many companies now are doing a balance of having their main office as well as a flexible setup. And the degree to which they do more of their main office versus the flexible setup depends on the nature also of the company. Example, for BPOs that manage thousands of employees, they need very stable internet connection. In fact, in our buildings, they require at least 2 or sometimes even 3 internet providers, and that's not readily available in most homes in our country. And also data privacy and security is very important. So many BPOs still find the need to have the office set up. They also want to be able to supervise the productivity of their employees. And I also observed that many BPO companies shuttle their employees just so that they can perform the work in the office, because things are more stable, more secure, more productive, etc. I think overall, many companies will sort of balance having a core or a main office and a flexible setup, but I don't think it will go to the extreme of a complete work from home. Nothing will ever really replace the value of face-to-face interaction, especially within a company. Sometimes that random chat that you have with your colleagues is very important, and a lot of people, I think, are getting tired and impatient with online meetings, throughout.
I was in a video with David Lichu also prior to this, and he was saying work from home works for 3 months lang daw. Pag 4th month, mag-aaway na yung mag-asawa. Parang sa ano daw. I'm curious about this. In your experience in the property development industry, people know when the lockdown started last March, they were pegging that the property market will crash. Pero fast forward where we are now, 9 months after, seems like everything is holding eh. Why do you think, based on what you said, is it primarily because of the BPO industry and then our OFWs? That's why the prices are holding right now?
I think it's really because BPOs are essential and critical. They do essential services, and that will continue for many industries that I mentioned earlier: manufacturing, financial services, insurance, healthcare, technology companies. They will always find the need to outsource. And if you think about it, if you remember in the last financial crisis, that was actually the driver for more companies to outsource their services. Many global companies realized then the need to outsource. The cost differential operating offshore in the US, for example, versus the Philippines is still 4 times more expensive in the US. So there's really still benefit to outsource.
I guess there might be people who might be interested about this. You mentioned you don't have any POGOs right now. Is there any plans should there be any to have exposure to that in the future, or you're gonna strictly focus on primarily BPOs for tenants moving forward?
For some time, I don't think we will have that. Actually, POGOs now are not very stable. It's actually been challenging. A lot of Chinese workers were not able to come back when things were locked down. And China is also clamping down on gambling operations. Some of the POGO companies have tax issues. So it's still very uncertain now, and it's not clear yet how and when it will actually recover. So for now, we're staying away from that.
We were talking about your latest purchase in Artigas, and from what I saw in the disclosure, portions of it, for it to be funded, will be taken out via debt. How does that impact the earnings, and also in turn the dividends that would come out? And then in terms of the company as a whole, what's the general impact of you borrowing? I know you mentioned a while ago that a certain level percentage that the company has, but what's the general take up on this?
I mentioned earlier, not the AREIT right now has no debt at all. So when we plan to acquire a 30th using debt. So if the 30th, for instance, that property will be yielding us, for example, 6% on the acquisition price, but debt levels borrowing is 4% or probably less, then that difference of 6% versus the 4% will now accrue as dividends to our shareholders, right? So that's only for the 30th, but all the other assets essentially have no debt. So the income of the property, we are required to pay 90% of our income overall as dividends.
The remaining 10%, in terms of what you would normally receive, coupled with debt, would that be enough already also to further expand later on in the future? Because majority of the earnings that's coming in, you'll be giving out as dividends.
After we acquire 30th, we would not have fully maximized our debt yet. No, we still have room to leverage more. And apart from that, we can also later on acquire property through equity subsequently, right? So our future acquisitions will be a combination of debt and also equity.
Any specific words that you would want to share to investors that are watching this, particularly anything related to AREIT, or things that could look forward to for 2021, or something that could be exciting also for them?
We are really very lucky that we have many investment options today. Something that we didn't have maybe 10 or 15 past crisis. So aside from stocks and property, there's fixed income instruments, there's bonds, there's preferred shares, there's UITFs, and now there's a REIT. And so there's really more opportunity now to diversify and for the investors and for our capital markets as well.
But I want to ask this question particularly for people that may have lost their income or their businesses have been hit. Any words of advice for them, particularly the ones that got massively hit because of the pandemic? And maybe a hypothetical question, if it was you who lost everything because of this, what would be your process on how you would turn things around financially?
It's a hard question. I have to qualify, Marvin. I'm not a financial advisor or a counselor. No, there are, I'm sure, many qualified experts out there. But right now, if I may share, I sense the direction of many businesses and companies that were affected by the pandemic is this. First, they have to survive, so they do adjustments within their companies in order for them to survive, and then they stabilize and they adapt to this new normal, and then lastly they recover and thrive. And I guess that principle, the general principle, would also apply to our personal challenges. And the sooner that we recognize the problem, the sooner also we can act on it and pivot and move on. I think if there's one lesson or advice that I personally believe in, it's always good to have investments back when times abundant. Like, as I mentioned that earlier, there's so many investment options out there. But these things you don't acquire overnight, and it takes time to build it up. So it's good to save whenever you can, build up your investments little by little over time, but never forget to also reward yourself in the end.
Got it. So very, very balanced, no? Enjoy, live today, but also put something on the ground so that you have something that you will also reap later on. So very, very well said. And I hope to everyone that's watching this that this video give you enough insight on REITs as a whole, and AREIT also as a company that it's a new asset class. I know it's something that a lot of people have not experienced in the past yet, but if you study it properly, you will figure out that hey, this could be a possibility also for me to get dividends and recurring income in the future. So before I let you go, Carol, This is I would do this at the end of every video. We do fast talk. One question, two options, no right or wrong. Whatever comes into your mind, you can blurt out the answer. Are you ready?
I see this in your video and I get scared.
But this, super for fun. Okay, let's do this.
Okay, let's try it for fun.
Steak or salmon?
Steak.
Success or significance?
Significance.
Large, massive mansion or travel the world?
It can't be both. Just kidding. Travel around the world.
Win 100 times but lose 50 times in the process, or win once but never lose at all?
Win 100 times.
100 million pesos doing what you love, or 1 billion doing something you do not love?
100 million doing something that I love.
Work hard, work smart.
Both.
US dollar, euro.
US dollar.
Bitcoin or gold?
Gold.
Fitness, finance.
I'm not a fitness person.
Got it. City or country?
City. I'm a city person.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Cut loss or hold on and fight for the business?
If it's good fundamentals, I'll hold on.
This is interesting. BGC or Makati?
Both, but I've been working in Makati for 20 years, so I'd say Makati.
Die with a lot of money or die fulfilling your purpose?
Die fulfilling my purpose.
Safe or aggressive?
Safe.
Win one time big time or win small but repeatedly?
Small but repeated.
Money or love?
Love.
Okay, thank you so much, Carol Mills of AREIT CEO. If you guys learned a lot, put it in the comment section. I learned a lot. And if you guys have any other questions, please put them down and we're gonna try to see how we can answer your questions as well. So thank you so much, guys, to all of you who watched and stayed until now. Thank you so much, Carol, also for joining us. And to everyone, I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.
I guess it's the meeting of the minds between two people. It's a matter of trust. And I guess the good part about this is that from the time we were struggling to the point where we were, you know, we can consider ourselves a bit luxurious right now. There was no disparity in terms of beliefs. There was no disagreement at any point in time. We always discuss things together. The problem of money never really got into a relationship.
Whether you're at 4,000 or you're at 10,000, there are risks. And you need to cover those risks. And so long as you're investing for the right reason and for the right timeline, in relation to your personal situation, that you're not too greedy and not too fearful, or you're greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy, I think you'll do well. And na-realize ko yun, all of these affirmations, I have to stick to them and make sure that when the markets recover, I'll still remember them.
Deploying first with essentials, you know, PLDT, Globe, and then going to the defensives, DNL, and so on, and then now going to the laggards. May mga laggards pa na pwede pang nasa baba pa. So dati walang oras gawin yun eh.